answering. So what my plan was for today was to break down that particular sequence and just go a little bit more slowly, look at the building blocks. We'll repeat it a few times. So sometimes when we're doing that, if the first time doesn't go so well, you'll have a chance to refine it and make adjustments as we do it a few more times. But if there's anything like that, if there's a certain transition or a certain movement that you might have encountered in the more advanced, I put in quotes, more advanced classes, then we can look at those transitions or those movements and kind of break them down. We can take some time, what we would refer to as workshopping the pose, right? To, like I said, to dissect the pose and look at its component parts and see how it all fits together. So I don't know if that sparks any questions from you all. I like to give you a chance to answer.
I just want work on, I just want work on the neck, you know.
Work on the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's a big part of the Cobra pose. So I'll definitely, talk about head placement. We'll do neck stretches, and there's a lot actually that we can do in Cobra pose for the neck. So I'll highlight that. So thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my video off. I can't look at my hair anymore.
That's fine. So we're going to start on our backs. You're welcome to turn your camera off if you want to turn your camera off. I just wanted to say hi to Monica and Nancy and Darby. Welcome. So thanks everybody for being here. We'll start, as I just mentioned, on our backs. You can begin on your back with your knees to your chest, giving your legs a little hug and giving a little massage, rocking from side to side, just as a way to get you started. And as you're rolling left and right, breathing in and breathing out. And if it feels good to sigh, if it feels good to, let the breath out through the mouth, or just a little bit more audible in the exhalation, with that sound release, there's often a little bit of an emotional release. There's a little bit of a physical release as well. So whenever you're ready, you can slow the rocking down to a stop and then lower the feet down to the floor. With the feet on the floor, walk them apart. So the right foot to the right, left foot to the left, and then move the knees to touch. So the thighs tip in that kind of knock-kneed position. And if you're feeling good, you can stay here. You might add a little bit of an adjustment to the feet, turning the toes out a couple extra inches. So the heels can stay where they are and the toes angle wide. And that often will give just a little bit of an adjustment to the knees and the calves and making things feel a little bit more comfortable. Arms you can rest to the side, palms open, and you're able to adjust the distance of your hands to your hips. So for some people, it might feel good to keep the hands close to the hips, or you might slide the hands a little bit away off onto the floor and getting a little bit of space in the side body and the underarms. And we continuously return to the breathing, inhaling and exhaling. And the movement of your breath, right, is the practice. And we think of the yoga postures, the movements that we make physically, really as guides for the breath. So each pose has its own way of channeling the energy of the breathing. So this particular pose that we're in right now, it's fairly easy to maintain. The only real adjustment here is the position of the legs. And as you breathe in and breathe out, we can focus a little bit more on the process of breathing itself, as well as try to get a feeling of how it's moving through the body. The next time that you inhale, spread your fingers, opening your palms. And then with the following exhalation, curl the fingers into fists, squeezing the hands somewhat tightly. And then without strain, inhaling to open the hands, spreading the fingers. And the exhalation to return the hands into fists. And we'll keep going with the hands and the breathing a few more times, trying to get a feeling of strength and movement to the abdomen that mimics the hands. So when you squeeze your hands into fists, you can feel a squeezing toward the pit of your stomach, almost fist-like. And when you inhale, you can feel a similar expansion to the abdomen, to the chest. And as we move the hands open and closed a few more times, passing with your breathing, you never need to stay with my voice. We could imagine the movement of the ribs, the rib cage itself, similar to the movement of the hands. And just like when your fingers spread widely, the rib cage spreads open. And when the hands clamp in and squeeze the fists, the ribs contract and squeeze together. And we could try to get a sense that we have the same amount of control over the movement and muscles of the rib cage as we have with the hands, as we have with the fingers. Let the last thing you do here with the hands be the inhalation. Let the last thing be the open palm, the fingers bright. And when you're finished, you just let the hands relax when you exhale, just letting go of all that effort. We're going to slide the arms out a little bit farther to the T position. So if you haven't yet reached the arms out to the side, shoulder height, keep the palms open toward the ceiling, and rolling your head from side to side. Just a couple times in slow motion, moving your chin to the right shoulder, chin to the left shoulder. And as you're feeling that movement to your neck, trying to get a sense of your neck a little bit longer, so that you feel the back of the neck extend along the floor. Of course, it doesn't need to touch. And the next time that you're turning to the right, please stay there, looking over to your right hand. And as you're looking at your right hand, see if you could reach it a little bit further out along the floor. So keeping the knuckles on the ground, spreading the fingers, and maybe trying to reach the arm a little bit go-go gadget style, as if you could extend out of the shoulder, out of the elbow, out of the wrist. And then keep your head looking to the right. Do the same thing with your left arm. So even though you're looking to your right hand, and you might close your eyes, that works perfectly. But as you're turning to the right, your left arm is reaching away. And as you feel that contrast from your left hand to your left shoulder, maybe moving your chin a little bit, you can kind of chew a piece of bubble gum that was too big. Just kind of twirl the jaw around. And then relaxing all the effort to the arms, relaxing the effort to the neck, bring your head to the center. And just pause for a moment in the middle. So your face is toward the ceiling. And just let your chin, your head drift a little bit right and left. And very small movements before eventually we turn to the left and stay there. So you're looking over at your left hand. And when you're looking at your left hand, it does help to open your eyes for a moment. And you can always close your eyes after you get the hang of what's going on. But that left arm is reaching first, really long through the fingers, opening up, extending, go-go gadget arm from the shoulder, from the elbow, from the wrist. And then we add the right arm. So both arms are reaching simultaneously. Because of the way the head is turned, we just get a little bit more information coming out of that right side. So as you're reaching with the right arm, you might move your chin a little bit yes or a little bit no. Or again, you could pretend like you're chewing a piece of bubble gum that was way too big. Kind of get the jaw movement around through the molars, through the eardrums. And just one more breath with all of that effort. And we'll bring the head back to the center. And with your head in the center, we'll pause, register the influence of what you were just doing, breathing in and breathing out. And then letting your knees rock side to side. So this windshield wiper movement, you know, and I hope you love, as your knees go from the right side to the left, we'll keep the feet wide. And if you had turned the toes out, as I mentioned earlier, you might notice how that helps your range of motion as well. Just get a little bit more freedom to the knees. And you can move at your own pace with the knees from the right side to the left side. You could coordinate with your breathing. So as the knees move toward the ground, you're exhaling. And as your knees move up and over to the other side, you're inhaling. But as long as you keep breathing, you're doing it perfectly. And we'll just do one more time to the right and one more time to the left. And as always, you take your time in finishing. But as you come up from the left side, when you're finished here, walk the feet in just a little bit closer together, still keeping a few inches between the heels, between the toes. And reach your arms straight up toward the ceiling. And as you're reaching the fingers toward the ceiling above you, twirl the wrists around. And as you're twirling your wrists, you can wiggle your fingers. And keeping the fingers wiggling, twirling the wrists the other way. So rotating around, feeling the forearms, feeling the elbows. The elbows could be bent a little bit. And then relaxing the wrists, relaxing the fingers, lowering your arms down next to your hips. So the hands flat to the floor by your tush. Walk your heels in just a little bit close to your butt. Keep your hips on the floor. Press your feet into the ground. Nice and strong in the heels and the toes. Just to feel the thigh muscles engage. And you'll be tempted. Maybe it's actually difficult not to lift the hips while you're pressing down. And just notice what happens when you feel that pressure with the feet. Take one more deep breath in, keeping that pressure to the feet. And when you exhale, relax the effort. When you're finished here, lift your feet up off of the floor. Bring your knees toward your chest. And we're going to raise the feet so the shins are parallel with the floor. So what we usually refer to as our boxed legs. Now you can grab your thighs, you can grab your shins for a moment, but we are going to let the legs go steady and free. So bring your hands flat to the floor, and it does help to press the palms right next to the hips. Flex your feet. So the knees are at a right angle, your shins are parallel with the floor. If you bring your knees forward, away from your chest, you're going to be testing the abdominals a little bit. When you bring your knees and your feet forward in space, you might feel your lower back begin to arch. And I know you're working hard, so we're just going to stay here for one more deep breath in. And when you exhale, lower your feet flat to the floor, lowering the heels close to your hips. When the heels touch down, toes to the floor, bend your elbows to that robot position. And we're going to lift up into our bridge pose. So now pressing into the feet, lift the hips, press your elbows into the floor, and keep your arms in that robot style, that T-Rex position. One more full breath in. You could lift your hips a little higher. And then exhaling to lower your hips nice and slowly, all the way down to the floor. Once your hips touch down, lift your feet, coming into that boxed leg position so the knees are directly above your pelvis. Your shins are parallel with the floor, parallel with the ceiling, and your ankles are flexed. Keep pressing into your elbows, big breath in. Exhale to lower your feet. Your timing, right? You don't need to wait or rush for my voice. Hips lifting to your bridge pose. Pressing to the elbows, pressing to the heels, hips into the air. Big breath in when you hold your hips in the air, and then exhaling to lower your hips. As soon as your hips touch down, you can lift your feet. Flexing the ankles, breathing in, and then exhale to lower your feet, setting up your next bridge pose. And we'll alternate up and down with the legs, always lifting when you inhale and always lowering when you exhale. And you've got it. So we'll just alternate a couple more times. Feet lifting for most of us, the boxed legs. Next time you breathe in and lowering with your exhalation. Now, if you'd like to challenge yourself, you could return your arms into the T position. Alternatively, you could stretch your arms all the way overhead alongside your ears. Whichever position that you've taken, continue to move with your breathing. Right? If you have your arms overhead alongside your ears, palms are facing up. If your arms are out to the side, you can have your hands turned down or face up. Really check in with your shoulders and feel what gives you the most space across your chest, and your ability to breathe. Good. So we'll do one more leg lift and one more bridge pose, meaning that the last thing you do is the bridge. And when you're finished with that bridge pose, we'll take a rest, hips to the floor and the legs straight. If you still have one more bridge pose to do, please take your time, right? Finish the work that we set ourselves. And as you move the legs straight along the floor, you can return your hands flat near your hips if you had moved them overhead or out to the side. With your hands flat by your hips, palms turned down, and pointing and flexing your feet. So extending the ankles and then flexing them again. And notice the movement to the shins and the calves as you point and flex your feet. You might also feel participation from the rest of the legs, right? Thighs and buttocks. And now we're going to hold the feet flexed. Press your palms flat to the floor and raise your right leg straight up into the air. As you come closer to the 90-degree position, just your right leg in the air, keep that left leg on the floor, and holding that 90-degree position, push up through the right heel. Even if your right knee is bent, imagine that you could make contact with your heel to the ceiling. Take a deep breath in, and then exhaling to lower that right leg, straighter and straighter as you get closer and closer to the floor. Keep both feet flexed, both hands pressing, lift your left leg only. Breathing in and breathing out. We're just going to hold for this first one. Keep both legs strong. That left heel pushing up to the ceiling as if you could make contact. Take another deep breath in. Exhale to lower it down nice and slowly to the floor. That's awesome, you all. So right side, left side. Now we'll go a little bit more fluidly. Inhale to lift and exhale to lower. Inhale the left leg coming up and exhaling to lower it down. And so as you continue to alternate, observing the length to the back of the leg, and that's part of what the cue I was encouraging you to feel, the extension up through the heel. And again, even if that knee is bent, I feel that you could give a strength from the core that could help you to raise and extend that leg to the ceiling. Last one right side, last one to the left side. And when you're finished with that left leg, we'll walk the feet in one last bridge pose. Heels close to your tush, keeping the feet maybe hip distance apart, 4 or 5 inches usually. Robot style arms, T-Rex arms, pressing into the elbows to lift the hips. With your hips in the air, you can straighten your arms underneath you, joining the hands by linking the fingers or hooking the thumbs. Another option is to grab the sidelines of your yoga mat, really get a good solid grip, almost like you were going to tear the mat in two. When you have the hands connected, you can put a little bit of tension on the grip as if you were going to pull the hands apart, give you more strength in the chest and shoulders. Continue to press into your heels. Feel the tops of your thighs strong, the buttocks involved. One more big breath in, releasing your hands. And then your exhalation is going to lower the hips safely, gently to the ground. Hips touching down will bring the knees to the chest. Grab a hold of your thighs, bring your head toward your knees. Rocking a little bit from side to side, tucking in chin to your chest. You can feel a little bit of a tighter squeeze, a little bit more length to the back of your neck. And then steady the side to side rocking so that you can then straighten and bend your knees at the same time, going up and down through the heels, through the toes, breathing in and breathing out, of course. Now we can catch a little bit of momentum to kick the feet overhead and rock forward. And if once is enough to get you to sitting, that's great. But if you want to keep going a few more times, you can rock along the length of your spine. And this is very much like the momentum on a swing set. You bend and straighten the legs to catch that rhythm. When we're sitting up, we're going to cross the ankles, what we call easy pose, but not necessarily easy. Right? Still some things to adjust perhaps with the knees and the ankles. With the hands on the floor, you can rock the hips a little bit side to side. A blanket can serve nicely for a little bit of padding underneath the hips. Holding onto the knees, using the arms to draw the chest forward. We're going to lift the chin and take a nice deep breath in. Exhaling, lead with the heart as you fold forward. The hands can move to the floor, and just walking the hands in front of you as you support your body. Head resting toward the floor. Maybe it touches, maybe it's a long way away. In either case, breathing into the back. Feel the breath into the hips. We're going to stay low in the forward fold, whatever that means for your body. Walk your hands to the right side. So we're going to let the head rest down toward the knee, somewhere in that general vicinity. It doesn't have to touch. Just one more breath. The next time that you inhale, we'll make the transition, lifting your head a little bit, the chest rising a little bit, walking the hands to the left, forehead towards your knee, breathing into the back, breathing into the hips. Please take your time. Leaning a little bit side to side, let the shoulders rock, a little teeter-totter across the upper back. We're going to walk the hands to the center. And once you feel the hands are in the middle, walk them toward you. And then sitting up slowly, we'll take the hands behind the hips on the floor, switching the way the legs are crossed. So as you lean back, you can lift the feet. You don't need to make it as elaborate as I just showed you, but just to have that visual support. Hands to the knees once again, chest forward, lift the chin, full breath in. And with your exhalation, we'll walk it down once again, hands to the floor. If you don't do this very often, it can feel very strange, but many of us have been doing it quite often, and hopefully it feels more natural now. We're going to walk the hands to the left side, just to switch up which way we go first. Head towards your knee. And as I was mentioning before, you could lean a little bit hip to hip. You could teeter-totter a little bit shoulder to shoulder, armpit to armpit. And just one more breath. And you might use a little bit of that rocking momentum to help you transition, walking the hands to the right. Lifting your head just a little bit as you find your way over that right leg, and then resting your forehead towards your knee. So the shape of the pose is telling the breath where to go. Combine that with the sensation, any intensity that you might find in the stretch. Just one more breath in and out. Come back to the center, walking the hands to the middle. Sitting up slowly, walking the hands toward you. Leaning back one more time onto the hands, stretch both legs out in front. We'll point and flex the feet. Extending through the toes and flexing the ankles. Right? Feeling the movement to the calves and the shins, just like we were doing on our backs. And before we move to hands and knees, we'll swish the feet from side to side to feel the rotation. Right? The knees turning, the thighs turning, right? Feeling that movement at the hip socket. Now, as we transition to all fours, we're going to tuck the feet over to the left, walk your hands around to the right. And if you instinctively went a different way, that's fine. Just notice that part of that's habit, and we can use our yoga practice to disrupt some of those habits. The hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips will look forward. Shoulders back from the ears, cow pose. Just going to breathe in and breathe out for a moment. So typically we only link this position with the inhalation, but it's nice to stay in the position and take a few breaths. Feel the lower back arching, your tail feathers are up in the air. We have the idea that we could lift the tailbone into the sky. And it's that movement to the pelvis that can help us transition to cat. So tuck your tail feathers, scoop the pelvis underneath, and then rounding the shoulders to bring your chin to your chest. And we'll hold cat pose for a few breaths. Here again, we usually link this with the exhalation, but it's nice to take a few breaths in and out in this position to see what's really going on. We can see how the pose lends itself to the exhalation or vice versa. but there's that squeezing toward the pit of your stomach when you breathe out here. And we're going to initiate with the pelvis. So when you breathe in the next time, tilt the tail feathers first up and back. And then the shoulder blades move together to lift your chin, and the lungs are full. As you exhale, scoop the pelvis, rounding the back, chin to the chest. When you're ready to inhale again, pelvis tilting, up and away. Lower back arches, shoulder blades move together, chin lifts as your lungs are full. Start from the hips, rounding the back, and eventually chin to the chest. So now I don't want to say much more, I don't want to confuse you, so please, we'll move through a few more times, and it's so valuable to find your own rhythm, a sense of how you create this movement. I was encouraging you to start the cat and the cow from the movement of your pelvis. Coordinate with your breathing. Now, the next time that you have your head lifted, we're going to pause. So when you're next in your cow pose, walk your knees toward the rear of your yoga mat, and then we're going to lie flat onto the abdomen. So hips to the floor, and then walking the arms forward to prop yourself up on your forearms. Now, this is a little bit more in depth as we continue along our practice this evening. The hands out in front, the elbows, typically we set them up underneath the shoulders. So let's be typical today. Let's bring the arms more exact in Sphinx pose. So you could imagine the Egyptian statue, right? Elbows underneath the shoulders. So where the upper arms are vertical, you're going to have to lift your chest a lot more, and there's going to be more pressure in your lower back. So for just a moment, lift your head as high as you can, not to look up, rather to look straight in front of you, and imagine the very top of your head lifting to the ceiling as if you were standing upright. As you breathe in and breathe out, press the tops of your feet into the floor and feel the strength in your thighs. If you feel pressure in your lower back, take note of that. You can press your pelvis into the floor, which feels a little bit like you're doing cat pose. That should engage some of your abdominals in such a way that you'll take that pressure out of the lower back. Now, we're going to slide the elbows out to the side. Make a little pillow by bringing your hands one over top the other and resting your forehead on your wrists. Now, notice the difference between the position you're in now and the position you were in just a moment ago. Breathing, you can relax any effort to the legs, any effort anywhere in the body, really, except for the breathing mechanism. Feeling that when you inhale, you can meet the floor. Right? You can expand your breath into the ground, and with a similar strength, right, find that resistance useful. Right? So the fact that the floor isn't moving is really helpful because it redirects the breath. It moves it into the lower back. And for our purposes, especially helpful. So please lift your head once again. We're going to set up that Sphinx pose, but atypical here. So instead of having the elbows underneath the shoulders, slide the forearms forward. And this is the way we usually approach this pose because it doesn't ask the lower back to be so arched. If you can, walk your feet together so the big toes are side by side, just barely touching. Press the tops of your feet into the floor, your forearms pressing as if you could drag your body forward. We're going to move the head up and down, yes, a couple of times. Now, when you lift your head to the extreme, like you're looking up, careful that you're not feeling any pinching in the back of your neck either. We're going to pause with the head in the center so that we can move it slowly, no, side to side. And as you're moving in the no action, slow motion style, try to move your whole face backwards. So even as you're turning your head left and right, you're moving the whole head backwards in space. All right, now we're going to pause in the center and then tip your right ear to your right shoulder. Moving your head up and over to the left ear to left shoulder. Over to the right, once again, we'll hold. Keep on breathing. While you have your head tilted to the right, press your left elbow down, and pressing that left elbow down like you were going to slide it backwards. Slowly moving your head to the left, up and over to that left shoulder. Your right elbow pressing down like you could slide it backwards. Breathe into that upper shoulder, the side of your neck near the collarbone. Bring your head one more time to the right side. Feel the contrast, your left elbow pressing down, pulling back. Move your chin a little bit, yes. Keep your head to the right. Keep it tilted, say no with your chin. See what you discover. Keep the pressure in your left forearm. Pause your head and then bring it up and over to the left one last time on the left side. First, find the grounding, that right elbow down, pressing the elbow into the floor like you could slide it back. And then your chin says, yeah, and maybe a little nuh-uh. You might move your chin around like you were chewing a piece of bubble gum that was too big, releasing the cabin pressure from takeoff or landing. Bring your head to the center, elbows out. Make a little pillow with your forearms. Breathing. It's amazing how the intensity of the sensation to those neck stretches sort of takes your breath away. Right? It occupies so much mental energy, so much of our focus that we actually forget to breathe, that the body braces itself and holds on to the breath. So when we're resting here, we really want to take the opportunity to re-energize through the breathing process. We're going to bend both of the knees, circle the ankles. So we've done this before. It's a little bit more casual action. We'll circle the ankles the other way. And after circling the ankles a few times each way, relax their efforts and then swing the calves from side to side. Again, this is where it may be a little bit more familiar as you swing the calves left and right. This is very much the inverse of what we were doing on our backs, right? Feeling the movement to the knees, side to side, those windshield wipers. Keep your legs in motion. If you want to add to this, lift your head. And when your legs go to the right, turn your head left. When your legs go left, turn your head right. We'll just go a couple more times each way, feeling the movement to the thighs, breathing to the abdomen, breathing through the chest, a little bit of pressure to the ribs, most likely. Just one more time each way. And then from the center, we'll lower the feet. But lift your head so you can move your arms safely. Hands near the chest will rise onto all fours. And with your hands underneath you, we'll return to our cat and cow rhythm. So the exhalation to round into the cat and the inhalation to arch into the cow. Based on what we were just doing on the floor, this might feel very different than the first couple cycles we did. And the ways in which it feels different are the ways in which we could learn something new about our body, or at least have a reminder of something we may have forgotten, what we're capable of. So your exhalation, rounding. And then the next time you have your head lifted, we'll pause in that cow pose. And here we're going to really get into it now. So the hands walking forward, the toes tucking under, and then we'll lift the knees and lift the hips, finding our first downward facing dog. So this downward facing dog, of course, you can pedal the feet in place. I know a lot of you quite familiar with the pose, very welcome position right now. And working through the calves, working through the hamstrings. And by pedaling the feet, when you bend your right knee, for instance, the left heel presses down. When you bend your left knee, the right heel presses down. I want to encourage you to maintain strength on both feet. So very often when we bend one of the knees, we take the pressure off the foot. So see if you can keep engaging the floor. And then we're going to steady the legs somewhat straight. Shift your body into the plank position. So in the plank position, the hands are underneath the chest and shoulders. The feet are way back behind us, right? Keeping the hips elevated. Legs nice and straight. Take one more deep breath in. Lifting your hips to your downward dog, breathing out. The knees can bend as you take the hips into the air. We're going to do that one more time. We'll go a little bit faster. So shift your body into the plank position. Hold for just a moment. See if you can look forward out in front of your fingers on the floor. Take a deep breath in. And then return to your downward facing dog, hips in the air as you breathe out. All right, super. Now, we try not to adjust too much. So the distance of the hands to the feet in downward dog is similar or the same as the distance from the hands to the feet in plank position. Now we're going to shift again into our plank and then lower the knees to the floor. Putting the knees on the ground, we're going to arch the back and find cow pose. Now, here's the challenge. You're trying to keep your tail feathers in the air as you lower the chest to the floor. Now, the butt stays up for a second, if possible, while you rest your chest on the ground. For most of us, that's not really possible. So we need to lower the hips straight away to the floor, and then we'll point the toes. Now, the hands might feel far forward. The real adjustment here, if you can turn your head to the right and look at your right wrist, and then see that that right wrist is less than vertical, by which I mean that that right wrist is not at 90 degrees. We're going to turn the head to look underneath and at the left wrist, maybe at the left shoulder. So you see your elbow is kind of slanting backwards. The forearm is at an acute angle with the floor. We're going to return the head to look forward, press into your palms, press into your feet, and raise your chest. Take a nice deep breath in. We're lifting similarly to our cobra pose, that sphinx pose, and then we'll lower the chest. Now from here, this is a big deal. We want to curl the toes underneath, lift onto the hands and knees. Scoot your butt back toward your heels, lift your knees, and then lifting everything into your downward facing dog. And we'll go over that a couple times as promised. We'll go a little bit slower and yet somewhat a little bit faster. So we'll see how it goes. So take what you need, leave the rest, shifting into plank pose. Hold your plank for just a moment to feel the strength in your legs. Lower your knees and pause. Keep your tail feathers in the air. Lift your chin a little bit higher. Bending at your elbows, we're going to lower the chest. Hips to the floor and then into your cobra. Palms pressing, the elbows are back. Use the back muscles to lift your chest. You don't have to come up so high. One more big breath in. Keep your chest up, lower your tummy so you can lift your hands. When you lift your hands, see how high you can lift your body, right? And this is speaking to the effort from the back muscles. And any effort is great. So one more big breath in. Exhale, lower your hands and your forehead to the floor. Put a little bit of pressure on your forehead. Or instead of putting pressure on your forehead, pretend that you could bring your jaw a little bit closer to your throat. And my hope here is that you feel more length to the back of your neck. Lift your head gently, pressing into the floor to rise onto hands and knees. Curl your toes under. Keep moving your hips back and then lift your knees as you press into the feet. The legs can straighten. We're going to do that one more time. Finding your downward facing dog, feeling nice and strong. Plank pose will shift forward. Lower the knees. Keep your tail feathers in the air, looking forward. Lower the chest. And then hips to the floor. Cobra pose, toes pointing, chest rising. You can use your arms to lift. Now we're going to lower the chest. Keep your hands on the floor. Hug your elbows into your body. Now, rather than looking so far in front of you, just look down your nose at the ground. Tilt your head to the right ear to right shoulder. And as you tilt your head to the right, keep it there and hug your left arm closer to your body. Move your chin a little bit yes, and a little bit no, and see what you find. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Pause with your head, bring it through the center, left ear to left shoulder. Keep your chest up just a little bit. Right elbow hugging in. Yaha and na'a with your chin, a couple times each one. See what happens when you take a deeper breath into that right side of your neck. Feel the contrast. Return your head to center before you lower your forehead. Press the tops of your feet, and you could press your forehead into the floor, but if not pressing your forehead, bringing your chin a little closer to your throat. So it's a strong length to the neck muscles. One more breath. Engage the floor with your breathing. Use the ribs, use the abdomen. Rising to all fours. Press up onto the hands and knees, get the toes tucked under. Hips back, knees and hips into the air, downward facing dog. Pedaling the feet nice and strong through the heels. That's a lot of work, right? So let's walk the feet up to the hands, give the arms a break. When you get your legs underneath you, let your arms hang for a moment in the forward bend. You can lift the hands and circle the wrists in super slow motion like we were doing earlier to the sky. After circling the wrists a couple times this way, go ahead and circle a few times that way. It's tempting to look at your hands, but relax your head and close your eyes. Relaxing your hands, lifting them to your hips. We're going to stand all the way. So keep the knees bent, lift your head, shoulders back, nice and easy to standing. And as you arrive to standing, relax your arms, eyes open for sure. Stepping up toward the top of your mat if you're not there already. With your arms by your side, mountain pose, really proud posture to the chest and the shoulders, strong through the thighs, strong through the feet. We're going to join the hands, prayer position together at the heart, a little bit more of an elaborate flow than we usually do. So the arms reaching forward and up. Inhale to lift, you can look up. Circle your arms widely, we're coming all the way down. Bend your knees as you exhale. Bring your hands to your shins, just halfway up in that tabletop position. Inhaling fully, and then exhale to slide your hands down. We're going to stand all the way up, circle the arms, inhaling to lift, reaching up as you look up, hands together to your heart, exhaling as you draw down the midline, and then releasing the hands from the center of the chest alongside your hips. Pause for a breath. Circle the hands back together. Reaching forward, lifting up, inhale. Folding forward, arms wide, exhale. Hands to your shins, breathing in. Exhale to lower down. Your timing, not my voice. Circle the arms, inhale to stand. Exhale the hands to the heart. Rest your arms by your side, breathing in. Return your hands to the heart, breathing out. Reaching forward, inhale to lift. Circle the arms, exhale to fold. Hands to the shins, inhaling to rise. Exhaling to lower. All the way up, breathing in to lift. To the heart, exhaling. We're going to do one more sequence. Pause while you breathe in, arms by your side. Exhale, hands to your heart. You don't need to stay with me. It's your breath. Inhaling to lift. You can bend back a little. Exhale, folding. Remember to bend your knees. Use the thighs. Halfway lifting, but a full breath in like you were going to pounce forward. Exhale to slide in, reaching through the floor. All the way to standing. Hands together and to the heart. Arms by your side, let them rest. Close your eyes for a moment, breathing. Feel what you were just doing. All right. Eyes open, hands to your hips. So we were breaking this down the last couple classes, the warrior one relationship. So we're just going to do this briefly as review. Step your left foot to the left side edge of your mat. Step your right heel onto the same side edge behind the left foot. You can always look here if you're unsure. And we're essentially adjusting the distance from heel to heel. So you slide your right heel up to your left heel and the feet are perpendicular, almost like a carpenter's square. And then we're going to slide the right heel down the line, maybe a couple feet, maybe a little further, and then see how far down the line you can step that right foot. So it might take a couple hops to get as far back as you possibly can. Now it's important we don't go so far back that we can't step forward. So let's hop little by little that right foot up to meet the left, and then we'll step to the center of the mat, both feet for a moment like the number 11, as if you were wearing skis that wouldn't cross. And then the right foot over to the right side, and now definitely crossing the skis as you bring the left heel on that same sideline. So again, just review here, that left heel slides up to the right heel. Looking at your feet, you've got that right angle, and then you can slide the left foot down the line. And if you look up or look at the wall, you know you're going to be challenging yourself. It's good to look down every so often and see how far you can step that left foot down the line to see where you can get to. Right? It's not a contest. You're just observing what your capabilities are. And then let's hop that left foot forward so we can start at the middle of the mat. So the reason we do that on the sideline is so now when we step to the middle of the mat, we can try to maintain a similar relationship as we line up the heels, more or less on that same seam. So we're going to start hands together at the heart, reaching forward and up, inhaling to lift. Circle the arms widely as you exhale, coming all the way down. Bring your hands to your shins. Inhale halfway up. Exhale to lower it down. Now step your left foot back and bring your heel onto the floor. Bring your hands to your knee or to your hips. Stand up. Often in the standing up, the front leg straightens. So go ahead and bend your right knee. And we talked about this before, that right knee wants to be directly above the heel. If the knee can go forward, that's often indication that you could then hop the left foot further back, right? Just a general rule, not to be always adhered to, but it's good for reference. We're going to lift the arms overhead. This is warrior one. You can look up to the hands and, of course, breathing. 2 more breaths, staying strong with your left leg. The right leg is kind of obvious, right? The thigh really knows that it's doing lots of work, but if we can incorporate the left leg, we'll find a little bit more support. Now, please straighten your front leg. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lower your fingers to the floor. You can bend your front knee a little bit. Now, in order to step forward, we're going to lift the back heel so the toes are pointing directly forward, and then spring off the back foot at the same time, rock a little bit forward into the front foot. Hands to your shins when you get your feet on the floor, halfway lifting, but a full breath in, and then exhale to slide it down. Step your right foot back. So a similar step, nice big extension toward the rear of your yoga mat. Put the heel flat to the floor. You can walk your hands to your thigh or to your hips, and then go ahead and lift your arms straight up and into the air. And just to check to see, if that knee can go farther forward. Sometimes we're a little tentative to bend the knee, so you could keep your knee behind your heel. Right? If you're looking up or closing your eyes, that's going to challenge your balance even more. Your right leg really strong. This last breath, nice full cycle, feeling that right foot engaging the floor. Now, the next time you breathe in, straighten your left leg. Keep the chin up. And then we're going to fold forward. Bring the fingertips to the floor. And again, you could bend your knee a little bit in the front. Lift the back heel so the toes are pointing straight ahead. As you push into the front foot, spring off the back foot. Bring the right foot to meet the left hand. Inhale fully halfway up. Exhale into the fold. And then we're going to circle the arms, standing all the way up. Big reach for the sky, and the hands together down to the heart. Let your arms rest, just breathing, right? Steady and smooth. Now, we're going to be stepping back in a different way. I actually meant to start this way, so I apologize. I really do think that when we fold forward and then step back, that's a little bit more difficult in some ways than the way we're going to do this right now, and we're going to look at warrior two. So with your hands on your hips, step your left foot back. So you're just going to swing your left foot behind you. Now, you might not be long enough in your distance, so you could step your left foot a little bit further back. Still, you want to look down at your feet and see that they're on the same seam. Sometimes that left foot needs to step a little bit out to the side so you're closer to the edge of your mat with your big toe. Now turn to your left, the arms shoulder height, and bending your right knee. Same rules apply. We're trying to adjust that knee directly above the heel. If it can go forward, that's a sign you bring the knee back and then lengthen your stance. Look at your left hand for a moment and imagine you could reach to touch the wall that you're facing, that you're pointing to. And then slowly turn your head to look at your right hand and reaching the fingers of your right hand toward the wall you're facing. And then see if you can reach both arms simultaneously. You remember when we were on our backs when we first began, feeling that we could extend the arms in both directions. Press into your front heel, straighten your right leg, lean back so your left hand lowers to your thigh, the right arm up alongside your cheek. You can reach high into the sky and both feet are pressing. It's perfectly natural to look down at your left hand, at your left foot, and then you want to press that left foot more fully into the floor. Somewhat surprising that both feet pressing down can help you lift a little bit higher up. Please use your next breath in to lift and let the arms come out shoulder height. Bend your right knee. Bring your forearm on top of your thigh. Your left arm is going to reach straight up to the ceiling. Now, this is a perfect place to stay, or you could move into triangle pose, in which case you're going to straighten your right leg and put your hand on your shin. In both cases, you could turn and look up if your balance is there. Both legs strong as you breathe. Circle the left arm overhead and down to the floor. Both hands to the ground. Now, lift the back heel so toes point straight ahead and step forward. Maybe 2 steps, maybe 1 big step. Hands to your shins, come up halfway. Exhale to lower down and then all the way to standing. Circle the arms up. We'll bring the hands together and down to the heart, exhaling. Amazing effort, you all. It was really awesome. So the hands to the hips, take a breath, reorient yourself toward the top of the mat if you need to, and then we're going to step the right foot back. So again, just leaning forward while you swing the right foot back, and that heel naturally goes to the ground. If you feel, oh yeah, I get it, but I still want a little bit more length, you can adjust by hopping that right foot. Your left knee bending, and we turn to the right side, finding warrior 2. So the arms outstretched, and you can feel the adjustment here, that front knee directly above your heel, shin vertical, looking to your right hand. And we try to open the chest both across the collarbones and the shoulder blades, the back body and the front body, reaching that right arm to the wall behind you as if you had that go-go gadget wrist. And then looking to your left hand, right, extending through those fingers and breathing. You could reach both arms in both directions at the same time. You can do it. Press into both feet. Your left elbow on your thigh, your right arm into the sky. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to go backwards. I apologize. Let's come up. Arms shoulder height. Straighten your left leg. We're going to lean back. Sorry about that. Right hand to your thigh. Left arm overhead. We'll go back to that side angle. Got a little ahead of myself. And again, it's that right foot. So even though you might be feather light with your right hand, you can really press the right foot into the floor. And that strength from the right leg can actually give you that length on the side body. Now let's lift up, arms shoulder height. Bend your left knee. And then your forearm onto your thigh. So side angle and the right arm up alongside your ear. This is a wonderful place to stay. There's all kinds of goods to get from this. In this case, you definitely can put pressure on that forearm. If you're heading to triangle, straighten your left leg and then moving your left hand softly to your shin. It's helpful to look down while you make those adjustments and those changes, but if the balance will let you, looking up at your right thumb, breathing. There's always a feeling of teetering in the pose, right? Sometimes the balance is really tested here. So know that's a factor and do your best. That right arm circling overhead, hands to the floor, bend your knee, lift the back heel to point the toes forward, and we're stepping forward. And maybe there's a little hop, hop, and then the big step, or maybe it's just one big step to get all the way forward. We're going to circle the arms to stand. Big breath in to lift up, and the hands together, we take it down to the heart. Exhaling. Let the arms release, knees bending, breathing in and breathing out. So if that was a real challenge, especially in the stepping forward, right? That's another one of the more challenging movements that we make commonly is the stepping forward and back into the lunges. So it's really worthwhile to break those down as well. So we're going to do a mini version of our tree pose we call the sapling pose. And there's actually a lot of really wonderful things about this version. So we're going to take the right foot and stand the heel on top of your left foot. So I'm trying to mirror you here. So the right foot is turning out, the heel on top of the left foot, and then the hands on the hips for just a moment. As you look up, I want you to lean back slightly. So you're putting pressure into that left heel, your standing foot. And then let's go ahead and lift the arms up alongside the ears. Goddess pose works beautifully as an option. Otherwise, arms straight alongside your neck. Two more breaths. You want to close your eyes, go for it. Keep that left knee, your right knee open to the right side. There's a lot of warrior two involved. One more breath in. We'll join the hands, exhaling, coming down to the heart, releasing your hands to the hips, simply switching the feet. So that right foot to the floor, you can bend and straighten your knees, and then we'll take the left foot on top of the right. So again, just a variation tree pose called sapling. Another element to this pose is that you can press that left heel into the front of your right shin. So with the hands on the hips, looking in front of you or looking up. So as the knee is turning out, that left heel is clamping into the shin. And that leverage can actually help you to open the hip. If you're ready, the arms lifting overhead, alongside the ears, chin lifted, chest open. Nice and strong through the ankles and through the arches. So that feeling like you're leaning back can really help to trigger the glutes, right? Really help you to find the strength and power through the buttocks. If you've got another 2 breaths, that's wonderful. If you want to close your eyes, amazing. See what's available to you. Take the hands together and down to the heart, and releasing the hands to the hips, and simply swinging that left knee forward. So the knees bending, slow motion style. Now we're going to make our way to the floor from here. So top of the mat, step the feet apart. The feet are pointing out left and right, so kind of a V shape. We're prepping a few squats here. The arms up overhead alongside your ears, breathing in. Bend your knees, coming just halfway down, the arms in front of you as you exhale. Lifting the arms overhead, you can look up, lungs full. Exhaling as you move into the squat, arms out across from the chest. And we want to lift and lower with the breathing. Keep your heels flat. So even if you can go down really far, we want to maintain the pressure to the feet, the strength in the heels. So if you need to adjust your feet in or out so that you can accomplish that, make those adjustments. And we're going to do 2 more. You can go all the way down provided that you can come back up. And if you really want to challenge yourself, keep your arms alongside your ears as you lower down. Right? And we'll notice how that is influencing the shoulders. Right? So sometimes much easier to take the arms in front. So last time up, and then we'll stay down in the squat. Fingers to the floor in front of you or on the floor behind you. You can lift your heels now if that is preferable for you. If you've got the hands in front, your arms between your thighs and your elbows pushing out while your thighs clamp in. Some of you might be able to bring your hands in prayer position so you're truly balancing on the feet only. And with the heels lifted, this might actually be the harder variation. Right? Those of you that have your fingers on the floor, if you're still with it, that's amazing, but we are going to sit down. So using the hands on the floor behind you to lighten the touch, sitting the tush to the floor, or you can just let go and roll, right? Grabbing hold of the thighs and rocking front to back. We are going to stay sitting just a couple breaths with Baddha Konasana. So as you find your seat here, adjusting yourself so the feet have padding, the feet together, the knees apart, and we'll rock a little bit from side to side, finding the pressure to the hips. Again, a cushion can go really nicely underneath the tush, and that oftentimes will give you a little bit of support from the knees. Some of us actually need props underneath the knees here. So if that's the case and you don't have those props, you don't need to go so deeply into the fold. Holding the ankles, the chest forward, lift your chin, take a deep breath in. And with your exhalation, we'll fold, leaning the forehead toward the toes, nose toward the feet. And breathing into the back, breathing into the hips. Staying connected to your body, feeling the passage of your breathing. Just one more cycle. Relax your jaw, relax your forehead. And sit up slowly with the inhalation rising. Please take your time. And then bring the knees together. We're going to move to our backs. So here you may need to shift forward so your head can be on your mat as you lie down. Knees to the chest and rocking a little bit. And from the rocking, I'm going to make a very gentle twist. Hold in the center. Bring both of your hands to your right knee. Straighten your left leg out along the floor. And then rolling your right arm out to the side. Bringing your right leg across your body, rolling onto that left hip. Chest open. Palm open to the sky. Remember, for safety's sake, you can rest your right foot on the inner left leg. If you're exploring other options, please be my guest. For the most part, we feel the twisting based on the axis of the spine. So if you keep your left leg really straight, almost like you were just in that tree pose, right, you'll be able to feel the inner axis of the back, right, through the spinal column. We use that as a reference for our twist. Even though we tend to feel the resistance to our ability to breathe here through the side body, the ribs or the chest, remember that we have the greatest capacity to breathe long, right? That we have the greatest capacity to expand our breath on that vertical axis, or in this case, the spinal axis, which is now horizontal. Just one more breath. When you're ready to unwind, use your left hand and use your inhalation, giving that leg a little bit of a boost, rolling to your back, knees to your chest. You can lift your head to your knees to reset. It's flattening the back, rocking to massage, doing what feels best in the moment here. Hands to your left knee, right leg out and to the ground. Take your time, shoulders and head to the floor, your left arm out wide. And then bringing your left leg across your body. Adjusting your pose so you feel the most comfortable, you're getting the most from the pose. We certainly recognize that from the left side to the right side of the body, there are differences. You can register the changes from one side to the other. And take it all in just as useful information, helpful feedback for our body and how it all works, how it all fits together. Our own personal needs. As you take these last few breaths here in the twist, allowing yourself to go a little bit deeper into the sensation or simply acknowledging certain sensations. Just saying hello to those tender spaces. Welcome their input. Using your right hand and your inhalation, lifting that knee so you can roll to your back. Give the knees a hug, give the knees a kiss, and rocking side to side. So if there's anything else that your body's feeling that you need before you rest, sometimes we like to grab the big toes for that happy baby pose. It's a wonderful way to settle the back. If you want to grab your cushion or a blanket to cover your body as we make our way into our relaxation, please feel free to take what you need, and then we'll rest for a few minutes. As you settle in, we'll enjoy a few more moments focused on our breathing. So the traditional corpse pose, you can have your arms to the side, palms open. The legs could be straight or the knees bent, just so you have a comfortable position for your hips. And we imagine that the breathing is now moving freely through the whole body. From a biological standpoint, we know that the breath moves into the lungs, and then through the circulatory system, a whole process ensues that transports that oxygen and nutrients through the bloodstream to the muscles and to the bones, from the muscles, from the bones, and all the rest. But we use our imagination here to visualize the whole body breathing in real time, meaning that when you inhale, all of your muscles, all of your bones are breathing in. And when you exhale from the chest and from the lungs, all the bones, all the muscles are exhaling at the same time. And in some ways, this is actually closer to the truth, because if we look at the cellular level, all of the cells are exchanging with their environment. In the same way you as a human being are breathing in and breathing out with the air that surrounds you, each one of your cells is pulsing and exchanging, releasing certain material and drawing other material in. You don't need to breathe so deeply. It is helpful in the beginning, especially because we have in our mind this expanse of the breath. But you might let your effort to breathe go and still maintaining that visual context of breathing with your whole body, breathing with every cell, both in and out. We might uncover certain areas like the ankles or the wrists that are still holding tension. And you simply ask your wrists and ask your ankles if they wouldn't mind relaxing. I find very often they are happy to oblige. Maybe it's your hips or your lower back. You might keep the tension habitually in the shoulders and the neck. So you go to your shoulders and your neck and say to your shoulders and your neck, letting them know how much you appreciate them. And if they wouldn't mind, just letting go. And we could finally send a similar request to the body as a whole, acknowledging the entire body with loving kindness and making the very gentle request that if the whole body wouldn't mind, just letting go and experiencing here every cell very much alive and at the same time very much relaxed and deeply at rest. Allowing your body to remain still, simply resting on the floor and feeling your body as a whole. You might notice if you're returning from somewhere else, some other mental location, coming back to this space, this time, your physical body, the sensations of resting on the ground. Feeling the floor and feeling the earth, feeling the air and feeling the sky. From your surroundings, feeling yourself at home and complete within, throughout your body, feeling at home and complete on this beautiful earth. Once again, we visualize the breath moving in real time through the legs and into the feet. So as we wiggle the toes, as if the breath were doing the job for us. Breathing through your arms into your hands and wiggling the fingers, spreading the fingers widely as if inflating the palms with your breathing. Letting your head roll from side to side, you can send your breath to your hair and beyond. And with bigger movements, if it feels okay, stretching the arms overhead. Long stretch through the fingers. You can climb an imaginary ladder, the right arm and then the left arm reaching, alternating a couple times. You can pedal the feet in the opposite directions. And moving slowly to walk your feet in, giving the knees a hug, lifting your head toward your knees, rolling a few times left and right. Again, massaging the back. And from this curled up position, we'll roll to the right side. You can bring your right hand up near your head to function as a pillow. And after a couple breaths in that fetal position, using your arm strength to help you sit up. Lots of ways to go about making your way to sitting. So however that feels best for you is just perfect. And we'll take a moment to close, bringing the hands together, prayer position at the heart. Feel free to close your eyes. In this moment, we acknowledge within ourselves and within one another that which is peace, that is joy, that is love, and that is light, residing inside of this space with both the knowledge and the experience that we are one with all things. And to that light, we bow. Namaste. Thank you all very, 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 very much. If you have any questions, please let me know.